Welcome to another edition of Hoehmtown Happenings. I'm Supervisor George Hohmann. Thanks for joining us. We've got a great show for you today, but before we get to what our guests are, let's talk about some of the issues facing the town of Clarkstown and some of the work that we're engaged in right now. So we're well into the spring, and we have a lot of work going on in preparation for our pools. And you're going to hear a little bit about that in some of the communications from the town coming forward. One of the things we did this year is we've really tried to limit our mailing program, and we're trying to do a lot more on social media and digitally as well to be able to promote our programs within the town. It's not only a cost-saving measure, but it's a way to go green, because a lot of the mail that's done ends up in the waste stream. And so not only we're trying to save money, but we're trying to go as green as possible with more electronic communications. So there's a lot of programs that the town is offering in the springtime, and we're going to encourage folks to please go and check them out through our Parks and Recreation Department. We're in the immediate period of preparation for the pool season. We're hiring for lifeguards. We're looking for seasonal workers within our Parks Department and within our maintenance staff. We need a whole series of seasonal workers. So if you're interested, please reach out to the town. You can contact my office, or you can go right online and check it out through the town website. In addition to that, as I said, we're preparing all of our pools. There's a lot of work that's taking place with some of the rehabbing on some of the pools, with everything from painting and what have you, to make sure everything's all set and ready to go, as our pools will start to open up in June and will be open for the summer. In addition to that, as spring has sprung, we've got a lot of things that are going on with work taking place around the town with beautification. We're certainly during the month of April into early May, we have the Great American Cleanup that's taking place across our town, and you'll see things being spruced up, and we're just so excited about this time of year as it moves forward. In addition to that, at the very end of April, we have the Carry the Load event. Very proud of this event. It's really a national organization that comes through the town, and we have a rally in Congers. They carry an American flag from West Point all the way down through the East Coast, and they end up down in Austin, Texas, where their headquarters is. They raise awareness about the true meaning of Memorial Day, and they also work to raise money to assist fallen soldiers and their families, as well as first responders and their families that have survived them as well, first responders that have been killed in the line of duty or injured. Carry the Load is a great group, and we encourage folks to come on out to the Carry the Load event here in Congers, in Clarkstown, on April 29th. The kickoff is at 6:30 right off Highway Avenue, and there'll be a big rally and event with music. We want to thank Sean McGee and the folks from Anchor Trading for helping to sponsor this event, which we've been doing for my entire time as town supervisor. Finally, I just want to call to people's attention. We've had some really good news of late. Our bond rating has been ratified, and the town is in very strong fiscal position. In 2023, we ended up with another solid year, again in the black for the town of Clarkstown. For very many years, the town of Clarkstown would run in the red, deficit budgets. We had yet another, I think it's our 6th consecutive year of a budget in the black, and we actually added to our reserves. And that's important for when we get into difficult financial times. This year, we did not raise taxes. So in 2024, there was no town tax increase. And so we're trying to manage as tightly as we can to make sure that we're providing all the services, no cuts, but without a tax increase. And I'm delighted that we've received several grants, including a grant from the state to combat invasive species over in Congers Lake. And the town board recently approved the Article 9 project through Siemens, which will help us save millions of dollars through some energy upgrades and renovations that will actually be paid for from the savings. It's a program that a lot of school districts have done, and it's going to help us maintain our strong fiscal health and viability as a government, but it's also going to help us to have some significant upgrades on our buildings. So we got a lot going on, not just the short-term preparing for the pools and getting our ball fields ready and all of things of that nature, but we've got a lot of capital projects, and more importantly, we're working on the fiscal health of the town and making sure that we remain fiscally strong going forward without having to raise taxes significantly. So again, as I said, we've got a great show for you today. We've got some wonderful guests. Kim von Ronn, who's a local attorney. She's the Director of Consumer Protection for Rockland County. She does a wonderful job, and she'll be talking about some of the scams that are going on and how consumer protection can help people here in the town of Clarkstown. We have Michael Saber, who's a longtime employee, and he's the Executive Director of Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, and he'll be providing some important updates. And then finally, we have Marianne Gallagher, the Executive Director of the New City Library. And Marianne will come in and she'll be talking to us about all of the upgrades at the New City Library. They just completed a very significant renovation and restructuring of the library. And we'll learn an awful lot about that and the programs that the library offers from Marianne Gallagher, the New City Library, a real staple within our community. So all that and more on this edition of Hoehmtown Happenings. Stay tuned. Welcome back. My first guest is Kim von Ronn, the Director of the Consumer Protection Agency here in Rockland County. Welcome, Kim.
Good morning.
So delighted to have you on the program. I know you've got a wealth of experience. You've worked, within the town of Clarkstown, within Rockland County as an attorney for very many years. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So in October of 2023, County Executive Ed Day appointed me Director of Rockland County's Department of Consumer Protection and Weights and Measures. Previously, I was working as an attorney for 11 years, practicing in the government sector. I graduated from Brooklyn Law School. I started working for the New York City Law Department, representing the city, all of its agencies, police officers, firemen, teachers in state and federal lawsuits. Thereafter, I went up to the Rockland County District Attorney's Office, and I did a lot of prosecution there throughout Rockland County. And then I went up to the Town Attorney's Office and the Rockland Law Department. And in October, I was appointed Director.
It's a really great career arc, a lot of experience. And it's great experience that you bring to the Consumer Protection Agency. So why don't you tell our residents and our viewers a little bit about this office, what it does and some of the roles and functions.
So we have an office of about 20 employees, and we have, as I said, it's the Department of Consumer Protection and Weights and Measures. So one of the primary functions that we have is to go throughout Rockland County and check all of the scales and weighing devices throughout the county. And that includes your retail stores, jewelry stores, grocery stores, gas stations. So we calibrate all those pumps and make sure that they're accurate. And throughout Rockland County, when you're at the gas pump, you look for that seal. It's blue and yellow, and it shows that we were there that year making sure that it was calibrated appropriately. And that's also on all of the scales throughout Rockland. So our inspectors go out there every year. We have to do this inspection. We also go around and do item pricing. So throughout the retail stores, every item that is on the shelf has to be either individually labeled or the shelf has to have the price. So some of our inspectors will go out there with a shopping cart and they will shop around, let's say, Target or ShopRite, and they'll take each item off of the shelf, look at what it was advertised, and then when they get to the checkout counter, they make sure that it tallies up correctly. If not, they issue violations to the store and get them into compliance. So, we are out there doing robust enforcement, making sure that it's a fair marketplace for Rockland County consumers. I
know another aspect of what you guys do. I remember years ago when I was the executive director at Rockland Independent Living, it's now Bridges. Rockland Independent Living had an initiative with the consumer protection regarding ADA accessibility at gas stations, and there actually is a policy, and it is enforced. And I know there's ADA stickers on the pumps, which announces what the gas station has to do. So if somebody shows up and they have a disability and they need assistance pumping their gas, under the ADA rules, they're supposed to have the gas station, during normal business hours, pump the gas and charge them, the regular price, not the full service.
Right.
And so I know your office has done some great work with that as well. You also do work with gift cards and making sure that those are, if people have issues with those as well?
Yes, absolutely. So our Consumer Protection Division also takes complaints. Gift cards, if they were purchased after December of 2022, they're valid for 9 years. So a lot of stores will say that they've depreciated in value or they won't accept them. However, New York State law requires that they are effective for 9 years. They're good as cash at the store, and they cannot depreciate in value. If you've purchased a gift card prior, 2016 to 2022, those are good for about 5 years. And unfortunately, they do depreciate with some fees, inactivity fees. But if anybody has any issues in using a gift card throughout Rockland County and they're denied, they should absolutely reach out to my office and we can help mediate that.
And one of the big things, that your office does is really, you work with contractors, licensing, and you really try and make sure that we don't have rogue contractors or people that are really trying to scam individuals as well. Tell us a little bit about that licensing process and your oversight there.
Right, so we license all home improvement contractors, so that ranges from general contractors, your roofers, your framers, landscapers, pool installers. Any home improvement type project would fall under us, in addition to mechanical trades, so that's your HVAC, plumbers, and electricians. So we actually license 2,600 contractors in Rockland County. And part of the licensing is not just to say that they're licensed. We verify their background, so we make sure that they have the proper skill, certain years of experience in the trade. Some of them have to pass a particular test. They have to have the proper insurance. So it's not just they can say, I am insured. They have to have the proper amount of insurance and for the type of work that they're doing. For example, if they're doing roofing, they're going to need a different policy. And the importance of that is that if they don't have the right insurance, and God forbid one of their employees or themselves gets hurt on the job, that could affect the homeowner, and they'll be going after the homeowner's insurance policy. So we make sure every year they have to renew with us, and we verify all of that insurance. We also make sure that we don't have any unlicensed contractors out there. We have patrol officers, the support of the police department, the sheriff's department, and the building departments. We work together with them on permitting and making sure that we don't have unlicensed rogue contractors. We do have the ability to issue misdemeanor charges through the various criminal courts, and that's a really good asset to have when going after those unlicensed contractors, because we can really get a lot of restitution back. Over the past 10 years, Consumer Protection has gotten almost $500,000 back in restitution for scammed homeowners. And that's a lot of money.
Very significant.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to go hire an attorney and file Supreme Court action or even a small claims action. We do that as a free service.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about scams in a minute, but what would you say would be one of the toughest, or one of the, you're there just a little over half a year, but what would be one of the big success stories or one of the more interesting cases that you've had?
So it's interesting that a lot of people don't realize that we can help mediate and help consumers who have perhaps gotten into a bad contract. So recently we had a woman contact us who had been perusing Facebook looking for a used car. She finds she's interested in this 2015 RAV4. So she calls the used car dealership. It's advertised as $13,000. She negotiates with them, and they come to an agreement, $11,000 cash. So she goes over to the lot. She says, I have my $11,000. I'm ready to purchase it. And they were like, oh, actually, that particular car, that one's still owned by the bank. So you're going to have to go over and talk to financing, and everything will be fine. So she goes over, and she goes back and forth with their financing officer. And they're going through the contract and these dense provisions, and she's really not sure what's going on. She keeps asking about this extra $17,000 hidden fee that's in there. And they keep telling her, no, that won't apply to you. That's just standard language. It'll be the $11,000 that we agreed. So she ends up signing the contract, leaves, goes home, is looking at it, and she realizes, she's like, I got completely scammed. I just paid $30,000 for a 2015 used RAV4.
Wow.
So she didn't know. She was beside herself. So she called our office, and we were able to use some of the laws on the books, the unfair trade practices. And in looking at that, lawyers like me, we use that word that it's, it shocks the conscience. Looking at a contract like that, it shocks the conscience. It's so unfair to a consumer that it was just not right for them to do. So we called them, and using the laws on the books, we were able to negotiate back and forth with them. They were hesitant at first, but we got the managers involved, and they honored the original $13,000 advertised price.
Oh, great.
So she was obviously very happy, and she ended up with a fair deal, which is the whole purpose of my office, is to ensure that Rockland residents are participating in a fair marketplace.
Recently, we've had a couple of incidents with other scams, particularly involving like paving companies. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So actually it was last week we had a recent incident in Clarkstown with a paving company that fly-by-night gypsy pavers. They knocked on a door unsolicited with a guy who had, a bad driveway. Knock on the door, and they said, can we have some extra material? Can we do your driveway? And he's like, oh, actually I've been getting some quotes recently. They quoted him a very high price, and he had some data and some information. They quickly reduced their price, and they said, no, we'll do it for you for, $7,000. Okay, no problem. They show up the next morning, ready to do the work, and some of the Clarkstown detectives noticed that they were out there because we had some incidents in the fall with these same ring of pavers. And they were able to stop them. I sent my inspectors over there. We impounded their vehicle, and we had a hearing. And I was asking him, what business, where do you work? Why does this phone number not work? Why does this address go back to Tilcon? It doesn't go back to your business. Where are you coming from? Why do you have a pickup truck with Illinois plates, and you have a UK driver's license? He's no ties to the community whatsoever. Absolutely no answers, getting very defensive. And so I made my decision that he was going to get a $3,000 penalty. And he fought it a little bit, but within an hour he came back with a bank check with the $3,000. So for him, it's the cost of doing business. And I want them to know that we're out there, we're on patrol, we have the support of the police and the sheriff and the building departments, and we're going to make this a very, very high cost of doing business so that they don't scam homeowners. Luckily, this particular homeowner didn't pay the $7,000. The police were able to intercept that early, but we've had others that have paid $55,000 in money for a job that was not done.
Right, and unfortunately, this type of stuff happens. And you mentioned gypsy pavers, and they're literally exactly what you say. They kind of come during the season, oftentimes. So we're kind of getting into the start of the spring, and they'll start coming up from Florida or from the Midwest, and no ties to the community, and it's the same type thing. So if you get somebody to knock on your door and say, hey, I have an extra load of asphalt, don't believe them.
No.
Because they're really not usually on the up and up.
Right.
And that leads to, ultimately, in this situation, you were able to prevent and punish somebody who was obviously going to take advantage of a homeowner. But there are far too many instances, I know from the Clarkstown Police Department, where our detectives are doing the investigation as a follow-up, and these people are long gone. They come in the community, they make, they insist on cash, they do it very quickly, and oftentimes it's very substandard. It ends up being like a mix of cold patch and driveway sealant. It's not real asphalt.
Correct.
And in the first rain, it washes away.
Absolutely, yeah. They are professional criminals, and they're hiding in plain sight. They're walking right up, bold, and they're smooth talkers. They convince people that they can quickly do the driveway at a very cheap price. Won't be a heavy lift. It'll be done before they know it. And legitimate contractors don't have extra material. So that's. It's too good to be true. It is.
Yeah, it usually is. So, Kim, we're just about out of time, but if you could give your contact information, how residents can get in touch with your office, and just want to commend you on the great work so far.
Yes, absolutely. If anyone would like to reach out to my office, it's we're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Our phone number is 845-364-3901. You can call us. We also have an email address, cplcal@co.rockland.ny.us. You can check us out on the website, rocklandcountynewyork.gov. Or you can come up to Pomona, and we have an office of staff there ready to help answer questions. If you have any kind of issues, we are very happy to help.
Well, Kim, this has been great. You've been a great guest, very informative. You know, folks don't really know about consumer protection, but my office regularly refers people over to your office, and you've been extremely helpful. I know you've been talking with our senior clubs as well.
Yes.
Keep on reminding people about the scams that are out there, because people get taken advantage of all the time. There's a lot of unscrupulous folks that are out there that, rather than trying to make an honest living, the criminals just looking to take advantage of people, and people need to be on guard. I think your advice was the best. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
That's right. Thank you very much for having me, George.
Thanks so much. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
So I wanted to talk with you and your mom today, Lily, because of some of the changes your friends and teachers have seen in you lately. And along with the incident the other day, you were with Derek when he was caught selling marijuana.
Yeah, he was selling it.
Honey, we know. But we care about you and want to know what's going on.
That's right. We'd like to understand it better and see how we might help. And if weed is a part of it, we want to make sure you know about the negative consequences for someone your age. So, can we talk?
Talk. They hear you.
So welcome back. My next guest is Michael Saber, the Executive Director of the Rockland County Sewer District Number 1. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, George.
So, Mike, delighted to have you on the program. Most people don't know much about the Rockland County Sewer District, so we thought it'd be a great opportunity for people to learn about it, and we'll talk about, you know, what that district does. I've worked closely with you. I didn't realize, I kind of knew when I was first elected in 2015, that when I took office in 2016, that I would become a member of the Sewer District Board. And what residents don't realize is the supervisors are what they call ex officio members of Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, as well as Rockland Green, formerly the Rockland County Solid Waste Management Authority. And so you're the Executive Director of Sewer District Number 1. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about Sewer District Number 1, what areas that it covers, and then we can talk a little bit about your background, how long you've been there, and how long you've been working in the industry.
Sure. The Rockland County Sewer District Number 1 covers basically the towns of Ramapo and Clarkstown, and a small portion of the town of Orangetown. We have a treatment facility down in Orangeburg itself, and then we have another treatment facility up in the village of Hillburn. We're originally a transport and treat. We had 27 pump stations and a network of interceptors. The towns of Ramapo, Clarkstown, and Orangetown have their own individually owned sewers, including some of the villages such as Spring Valley, New Square, and Pomona. Over time, we've actually gone into a little bit more of collection. We maintain the sewers for the villages Spring Valley and New Square. We also own and maintain the sewers up in the areas of Hillburn and Sloatsburg.
Mm-hmm. And you're an engineer as well?
I'm an engineer. My background's in civil and environmental engineering.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you get your degree from?
Both came from Manhattan College. Both my undergrad and my master's both came from Manhattan College.
Right. So great school and great background there. And how long have you actually been with the sewer district?
34 years and counting.
Oh, wow.
So
you must have started when you were like 4.
Yeah. So I started right out of college, and I kind of just worked my way up through the ranks and eventually became executive director.
And you're executive director how long now?
It's going to be 4 years this year. I was acting for a while, and then.
Right.
Yes.
You've done a great job there. I know I had the privilege of serving as the chairman for about 8 years, as a member of the board, and last year stepped out of that role, and Mike Speck, the supervisor of Round Post, now the chairman. I remain on the executive board there, and really there was some transition. A lot of issues that had to kind of be worked on, and a bunch of things we're working on now. Maybe you could tell our residents a little bit about some of the do's and don'ts as it relates to the sewer system and disposable wipes. Why don't we start with that one? They're not flushable, correct?
They're labeled flushable, but they're not. They shouldn't be flushed. They cause a lot of problems, not just for us, but other municipalities, including down to the town and village level. The wipes, they don't break down in the sewers. They have a tendency to clog the pumps. When the pumps clog, they obviously don't work, and then we can't move the water from one place to the next. And if they get clogged enough and enough pumps fail to function, we then can have potentially a sewer spill, which isn't good for the local residents or the environment. The rags also causes a problem in our treatment facilities. While we do have screenings at various places, including the pump stations, but in our plant itself, the rags have a tendency to get through. They cause equipment problems that we have to maintain, and it increases costs for us to maintain, which therefore costs more for the residents because we have to pay to get those items corrected. The best thing is to throw them in the garbage, and even if they're labeled flushable, they really shouldn't be flushed. Both at the federal level and at the state level, they're trying to pass legislation to label the packaging, to actually list them as not flushable to help with that with the industry.
Right, and we've talked about this in the past. Just recently, within the past month, I actually wrote a column about it for my weekly column in the Rockland County Times, the not so flushable wipes, and literally these will. You think they're great, the Clorox wipes, and you want to sanitize or clean a counter or something, and then people think, okay, let me just throw it in the toilet, flush it, but they don't break down. They're thicker than even paper towels, and they literally then can cling to one another. Also, grease becomes an issue as well.
Well, grease is also an issue. What many people think they could just pour the grease down the drain, run some hot water, no problems, it gets out and it moves on. But what happens is that grease then hits the sewers, or even sometimes into people's own house connections, and starts to cool, and it starts to stick to the walls, kind of like cholesterol does to your arteries. And then at a certain point, if there's enough grease, like your arteries, we don't have a heart attack, but we have other issues that occur in the system. And then the grease also has a tendency to bind with the wipes that don't break down, and then you can have a blockage in the sewer, and again, it impacts either the environment or local residents, which we have some known problem areas. I know the towns also have known problems areas. We try to get ahead of those and do what we can to minimize any situations, but sometimes it comes in an unknown area, and it's just, it could be prevented if people would just put it in a jar, let it cool in the jar, and then dispose of it down in the trash.
Yeah, and that's really the way to do it, because when you pour it into the drain, as you said, I mean, some of the research that we've done, and you would actually talk to us about, because I know we joined a class action lawsuit, I believe, when I was chairman, that a bunch of municipalities around, I think we took a vote on that. I don't know where that is, because it's not us driving the bus, with it, it's a group of folks, but literally, this is a very expensive problem, these flushable wipes, and then when you combine the grease with it, and people just think, oh, let me just do this, pour the grease down the drain, or throw these wipes into the toilet, and they'll bind together, and they create this thing called a fatberg, which literally there was one in New York City that they had like a major trunk line, and it was literally completely blocked, and they had to rip up the road and break the pipe. The pipe had a crack in it, and they found that this was latched onto and stuck, and it had really become like a big, massive ball, and it literally caused a major sewer backup in New York City. This is a number of years ago, and it was amazing when they pulled this thing out. It was like 4 foot, just this massive clog, and it was essentially flushable wipes with grease that bound to each other, and then literally became hard, and nothing could pass through, and it damaged the sewer. Then the other thing is, it gets into we have propellers and things like that within the system, within the pump stations, and it'll foul those or clog those. So if you're listening to this, hear the plea. Don't put these things in the toilet. It's problematic. Another thing that becomes problematic is we have too much water that goes into the sewer system as well. Could you speak to that?
Sure. So we're what we'll call the separate system. So The wastewater goes into one system and the stormwater goes into a separate system. We're not like some of the larger cities, like New York is a combined system. We're a separate system. And so, some people aren't aware of that. So when they do work in their house, they may connect a sump pump, or they may connect their house leaders, the roof leaders that take the water off the roof, and connect those to the sewers. Well, the systems aren't designed or have the capacity to handle those. So really, any of that type of water should be either directed out to the storm drain system or some other method approved by the local municipality. And also, if you find a broken cleanout in your yard, which is for the sewers, that should be also repaired so the rainwater doesn't get into the system, because it takes away from capacity that's needed for just regular houses.
Right, and we're having more and more, as all sewer systems are, you're having more and more issues with just water that gets into it. It kind of messes up the amount of sewage that can be treated. It also can affect us on permit limits as well, correct?
It can, because it dilutes the sewage, and we need typically you want a certain concentration coming into the plant that allows us to correctly process it before we discharge it out to the waterways.
Right. So, so literally, your recommendation obviously is people have some pumps in their basements and things of that nature, and they'll hook them into their sewer system within the house, and that shouldn't be done. Some pumps should be pumped, to dry wells outside or, disposed of outside, and not pumped into the sewer system, because literally that will cause issues as well within the system.
Correct. Anything that limits the capacity of the sewers or is a detriment to the sewers should try to be avoided, because it may not impact your residents, but it may impact your neighbor down the street, and then they will have a problem.
Right. So, Mike, in the minute or two that we have left, there's definitely some other things that the sewer district does. You do licensing as well of restaurants, and could you talk about that?
Sure. So for restaurants, we want to make sure, especially if it's a food service establishment, that you come in for a permit. Make sure you have the right size grease interceptor. Again, it relates to the grease. We don't want grease from restaurants coming in, let alone just people's houses. If you're coming for connect the facility, just make sure you go to the correct municipality. Sometimes it's us, sometimes it's the towns. Just to make sure that you're protected and everything's done correctly. Sometimes people decide, well, it's cheaper if I hire a contractor and I don't get the permit, but then it may not be built to the standards, and then you could potentially have a problem later on. So it's always better to reach out to the municipality, make sure you have the things done correctly.
Right. I know, Mike, we've got a lot of stuff that's going on in the district. You're in the midst of a bunch of capital projects that are on the horizon, and you've done an exceptional job there. And 34 years, I mean, it's a long period of time to be with the county and with the sewer district, and you've done a real good job there during that time, and you've done a great job as the executive director. So I want to thank you for being such a great guest. If you have just a moment, if you could give people contact information, if they have any questions about the sewers, how do they get in touch with the sewer district?
So you could call us at 845-365-6111. We also have an email address, which is rcsd@co.rockland.ny.us.
Great. So, Mike, again, I want to thank you for being such a great guest and being a really wonderful executive director for the Rockland County Sewer District. Thanks
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Matthew.
Huh? Oh. I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. And what you say really does matter to me.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me, and they make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for preparing me for what's ahead.
Thanks, Mom, for always being my biggest fan.
Thank you for talking.
Talk, they hear you.
So welcome back. My next guest is Marianne Gallagher, the director of the New City Library. Welcome, Marianne.
Thank you.
So really delighted to have you here. The New City Library is a real staple within our community. Recently underwent a major renovation and does such great programs within the community. So before we get to the renovation and some of the programs, let's talk about yourself, maybe your background, where you were born, education, and what have you.
Okay, I was raised on Long Island, Northport, which is a town on the Sound, Long Island Sound. It was a great upbringing. I did go to undergraduate school for chemistry, believe it or not. But after I had received the degree, I realized it was not a career I wanted to pursue. And so I did open my own business. So for quite some time, I had a custom marine and canvas upholstery business when I moved up here. So I would work on the river a lot, Haverstraw, Stony Point. I moved up here in 1988 when I got married. My children went through the Clarkstown school system. They're adults now. One lives in Nyack, the other lives in Highland Falls. So after they were a few years old, I decided that I wanted to try another career. And so that's when I went back to library school to get my master's. I did think I was going into special libraries because of my undergraduate degree. I thought I would go for a corporate librarianship, but I realized public libraries were appealing and worked better with my family schedule. So I started at New City Library in 2002 at just 8 hours a week. And then I slowly gained more hours, became a full-time reference librarian, became head of adult services, and I became director in 2015.
Oh, wow. You know, one of the things, just as an aside, the New City Library has really become like our go-to. I mean, you've got some great staff that work with you. So literally, I'll frequently speak about veterans, or we'll look at historic things that are taking place within the town, if you will, and literally we'll go to the New City Library, and your research librarians over there are exceptional, and they will pull all types of stuff, and we'll have old newspaper articles and census information and of different people of note, and they've been extraordinarily helpful. Joe Barbieri and your entire team over there have been really, really great to work with.
We're lucky to have two local history librarians on staff, Brian Jennings and Joe Barbieri.
Yeah, Brian has just been great throughout my tenure here. Brian and Joe, together they're a great team, and they literally will give us just such great information, and people don't realize it. I mean, you have the Rockland room there, and you've got wonderful resources, and we live in a truly historic place, but you've got two exceptional research librarians that are always eager to help, the residents, and certainly help my administration as well. So let's talk a little bit about the renovation, right? So this is a major job. You guys had to move out, and took a pretty significant period of time as well, but it's finally over, and you guys are open. So talk a little bit about the renovation. What was entailed, roughly how much, and what are some of the new features that people can experience at the New City Library?
Okay, the project started many years ago by taking surveys of patrons, doing a master plan study, our architect conducted focus groups, just to see what the community wanted. And what rose to the top was that people were asking for more meeting space. And we knew as things became more and more digital, we wanted to make more space for people as opposed to books. And so it's been years in the making. We moved from our 31,000 square foot facility into a 3,000 square foot facility in the DeChico Shopping Center. So that was a challenge. And we only added about 2,500 square feet to the building. We added a children's meeting room on the main level right adjacent to the children's department, which I felt was so important because we had a very small story time room in the basement, which just did not seem appropriate for this size community, as well as for the little patrons that we have. So we added the 2,500 square feet, but we also reconfigured the entire space. It was totally gutted. We added a lot more study rooms. We consolidated the staff space, and we increased the size of our adult meeting room so that we could have a higher capacity. And we improved the AV technology there as well.
Right, significantly, yes.
Yeah. So all in all, it was about a $14 million project. And we are pretty much winding down. The punch list is so minor at this point, and we're tweaking things like the HVAC system, which is always, as you know, building that size and that age, it's always a challenge. But there seems to be such a positive review from patrons. We did add a little, what I like to call just a vending cafe, just to try to keep people eating in that space. Small vending machine. We just got a coffee machine, but even that space has proved very popular.
Right. No, I've heard some great things about, about it as well, and you also have opportunities for people that can sit outside as well.
Yes. Post-COVID, we realized the importance of outdoor space, and so there is a brand new terrace in the front, as well as what we're calling the park in the back. It's an enclosed space that will be used by all ages. We will conduct programs out there. We also added a maker space, a create space, and that's where we do a lot of our creative programming, like 3D printing, vinyl cutting, coding, and we also do traditional crafts in there as well, painting, things like that. And a makerspace terrace as well, and that's going to be our new band stage, so that when we have outdoor concerts, they'll have a place to perform.
So some great programs. What are some of the other programs that the library offers on a fairly regular basis?
Well, for adults, it's we have a lot of concerts, crafts, lectures, book clubs, things like that. Technology classes as well. For the teens seem to like the embroidery classes, painting. They have book clubs as well. There's a Battle of the Books program that runs every year that pits teams from different libraries across the county, and we've always done well with that. And then for the kids, story time, imagination station. We have Lego building programs, chess programs, lots of concerts.
Yeah, that's great. Again, so the library itself, it's had a couple of renovations prior to this, but this is probably the most significant one,
This is the most significant. The building was opened in 1980. In 1988, they added what they called the children's wing. And there have been some reconfigurations, but nothing major like this. I think it was maybe in 2010, we did what they called the AV renovation, where we did move the DVDs upstairs and reconfigured, but that was not nearly as big as this.
Right. No, wonderful job, and it must have been really challenging trying to still provide services in a much smaller space, and for the length of the construction, and then also having to work with folks that are managing the construction as well, correct?
Yeah. It's not something I want to repeat anytime in the near future. I mean, I did enjoy the challenge. I felt comfortable, talking about the building. I felt like I knew it pretty well since I had worked there 15 years, so I really felt like I knew all the nooks and crannies of the place. But I have to credit my staff when it comes to keeping the patrons happy, because even though we were working out of that tiny space, we were still able to provide them with materials that they needed. And they also branched out into programs throughout the community, more so than we had been doing previously. And we took advantage of Zoom as well, and we will continue to have hybrid programs that are proving so popular. Veronica Reynolds is our head of community relations, and so she'll conduct book talks and lectures, so people can either come in person or they can watch from the comfort of their home.
Well, that's
on
great.
Zoom.
That's great. So we're about out of time, but I want to thank you for being a great guest. If folks want to get in touch with you, learn more about the library, how do they do that?
Okay, well, the number at the library is 845-634-4997. My extension is 111. My email address is mgallagher@newcitylibrary.org. I always like to hear from the patrons. We do get great ideas from the patrons. And no, it's been my pleasure, and I thank you for your support throughout this project. We've been interacting for years now about how to make this happen, so thank you so much.
Delighted that it's coming to, you're just on the punch list, and but delighted to see all the wonderful changes over there as well. Really great job, and you do a wonderful job as the director there. So thank you for being a great guest. We'll wrap it here. And again, if folks want to learn more, there's a ton of stuff going on at all of our libraries, but especially the New City Library. You want to research, if you have curiosity, you want to research, something. They've got some great research librarians. So avail yourself to the services over there. And Marianne and her staff do just such a wonderful job. They're a tremendous asset, not just for New City, but for the entire county and the community of Clarkstown. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
So I wanted to talk with you and your mom today, Lily, because of some of the changes your friends and teachers have seen in you lately. And along with the incident the other day, you were with Derek when he was caught selling marijuana.
Yeah, he was selling it.
Honey, we know. But we care about you and want to know what's going on.
That's right. We'd like to understand it better and see how we might help. And if weed is a part of it, we want to make sure you know about the negative consequences for someone your age. So, can we talk?
Talk. They hear you.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank my guests, Kim Von Ronn from Rockland County Consumer Protection, Mike Saber from Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, and Marianne Gallagher, the Executive Director of the New City Library. Until next time, I'm Supervisor George Hoehmtown. Thanks for joining us.